We're in the second golden age of JRPGs. It's like 1990s Squaresoft all over again, but you know, without the Squaresoft part. There's been an absolute flood of games in this genre over the last few years, and I'm not just talking quantity here, oh no. I'm talking about dripping from head to toe. A1, primo, fantastico, leather seat, dressed in your Sunday best quality. If you're here for confirmation bias about your favorite genre, welcome, my kin. And if you're new to JRPGs, goodness gracious, I am so sorry that I'm your introduction to the fantastical world of Japanese role-playing games. Speaking of introductions, in 1985, a man named Yuji Horii attended the Macworld Conference and Expo, where, accompanied by one Koichi Nakamura, he discovered the role-playing game Wizardry. It was a, what a tongue twister, Dungeons & Dragons style first-person dungeon crawler with random combat encounters. I guess now we know who to blame for that horrific mechanic. The gameplay of Wizardry inspired Horii to design a game that would bring the computer-based Western RPG genre to the Japanese home console market. He also cites Ultima's overhead view as an influence for his vision. Horii wanted to combine the best parts of these two games while making a more accessible experience for a Japanese audience by simplifying the gameplay and discarding the need for prior knowledge of Dungeons & Dragons. And thus, development began on the grandfather of turn-based JRPGs, Dragon Quest. The original Dragon Quest, also known as Dragon Warrior in North America, laid the foundations for the JRPG genre today. The game begins with you taking control of a young hero who embarks on an adventure to defeat the evil Dragon Lord. Heard that one before? From there, you travel from town to town, collecting magic balls along the way. Okay, I've definitely heard that one before. You can talk to the townspeople to uncover secrets, buy and sell equipment at NPC shops, and rest at inns to restore your health. To travel between locations, you move through the vast overworld, a scaled-down, open-world representation of the entire map. It's here, and in the dark dungeons you'll find yourself in, that you engage in the core gameplay: combat. The combat in Dragon Quest is a turn-based system where you select your actions through a menu. The commands in this game are fight, spell, run, and item. You can figure out what those do. In this menu, you can also see the hero's stats, which are their level, HP, MP, the amount of gold they possess, and experience points. A core element of turn-based RPGs is resource management. As you progress through dungeons fighting dozens of enemies, your HP and MP whittle away. So by the time you reach the end of an area, you've exhausted all your healing items and just barely make it out alive. Combat becomes a careful balance of using powerful abilities to take out enemies before they can kill you, but also preserving MP in case you really need your magic abilities to save you from a tight spot later on. Battles are initiated through random encounters. So in addition to not knowing how long a dungeon actually is, you also don't know how many battles you'll need to survive to reach the end. Why am I explaining this in so much detail? Just look at Pokemon. It's that. The same thing as the 1986 game that invented the genre. Because despite the fact that Charmander eventually turns into Charizard, Pokemon as a franchise has never actually evolved. Fortunately, stagnation is not something a JRPG protagonist needs to worry about. As you battle, you receive EXP for defeating enemies. Earn enough and your character will level up, giving you access to new abilities, spells, more damage, higher health, and so on. This level up system helped Horii fulfill one of his big ambitions for Dragon Quest. He wanted players like you and me to be able to get emotionally invested into our character's development and journey. You start the game at level 1, and slowly but surely gain strength throughout the journey as you help people all over the world and defeat hordes of enemies. By the time you reach the Dragon Lord's castle, your character is a godlike hero who's overcome immense challenges, and you were with them through it all. It's the classic zero to hero story that everyone loves, and being able to experience that yourself is empowering. These design elements from the original Dragon Quest can still be seen in JRPGs throughout the genre, over 35 years after its release. Speaking of other JRPGs, I have thought long and hard, with my limited amount of brainpower, to come up with the best place for new players to start their JRPG journey. After climbing the highest peaks and wading through the lowest valleys, meditating on the deepest questions of life, I've come to a conclusion. My answer? Yakuza Like a Dragon. I know it's biased. We know that I'm a huge Yakuza fan. Look at my Yakuza video, but truly, this is a fantastic place to start. It perfectly encapsulates everything that's great about the JRPG genre. I mean, it's so direct. Even the name, Like a Dragon, is an obvious reference to Dragon Quest, among other things. Though Ichiban's journey takes place in real-life Japan, he perceives the world around him in a semi-fantastical view. He believes, rightly so, that he's the protagonist of his story, and that every success and failure he experiences along the way are slowly building him up into the legendary hero he wants to be. You might call this the delusions of a 40-year-old man with funny hair. I call it a great idea for a video game. The combat here is what you'd expect. Turn-based commands. Your 4 options are skills, etc., guard, and attack. Oh look, they spell Sega. Skills are your magic spells and special physical abilities. Ichiban is a physical attack-based character to start with, so his skills typically look like big wind-up punches or a 360-degree attack with a baseball bat. The skills section is also where you get your recovery abilities to regain health or heal your status ailments. Alongside them are your support skills, which buff your party and debuff enemies. Etc. is probably the section that seems the most confusing, but in reality it's just a big mishmash of all the options that didn't fit anywhere else. You have items, which I don't feel a need to explain. Tag out, which allows you to swap an active member of your party with one in the reserve. And then there's Pound Mates. That's a very Yakuza name for what Final Fantasy calls summons. Pound Mates are special allies you call in for a price to help you out of a tight spot. They perform one-time actions like dealing a massive amount of damage to all enemies, greatly boosting your party stats or restoring your HP and MP. These are extremely powerful assets in battle, but you can only call them every once in a while. After being used, a Pound Mate will go on a long cooldown period, presumably to deal with the rest of their real-life responsibilities. Okay, guard and attack, block and strike, defend and bonk somebody on the head with a champagne bottle, shield up and break somebody's knees with a sledgehammer. Enough said. I really enjoy this combat system because it keeps the traditional turn-based structure while evolving it for modern times. Your characters don't just stand still in a line, nothing wrong with that. But they shuffle around, they're sizing up their enemies, repositioning themselves for a better place to strike. Your foes are still reminiscent of the funny Dragon Quest classics, but with a modern, more disturbed twist. Like all Yakuza games, they're based in reality, but instead of punching a drunk guy, you're battling a berserker. Some psycho with a knife, call him the mystery meatsmith. I just love how Yakuza can be goofy like this without taking away from the serious tone of the story. And it is rather serious. JRPGs are known to be dialogue-heavy, story-driven games with deep character building. Like a Dragon is no exception. I won't spoil the plot, but I am not kidding when I say this is a story about starting from the absolute rock bottom. It's dramatic. The characters feel like real people rather than living tropes, and the way the story unfolds can make it really hard to put the controller down. I just want to see what's going to happen next, and I've already done every single thing the game has to offer. Twice. That's including the side quests. One of the quintessential parts of the JRPG formula. I don't always do side quests in games because frankly a lot of the time they're just boring fetch quests. No, I don't want to go collect 37 turnips for you. If you haven't noticed, I'm busy trying to save humanity from an intergalactic demon of hyperdimensional proportions. Even some of my favorite games of all time suffer from this. Badly. Yes, Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2. I'm looking at you, but not 3. Oh my gosh, what a... Fortunately, the boring fetch quest syndrome is not a problem here in Like a Dragon. These side quests are better written and have more care put into them than Ubisoft's entire library. Okay, maybe I need to raise the bar. Think something closer to Red Dead Redemption 2, but aggressively Japanese. Speaking of Japanese people, let's talk about the characters. Character building goes hand in hand with dialogue-heavy storytelling in JRPGs to build immersive worlds that you can get emotionally invested in. There are whole JRPG series, like Tales of, that use character-driven stories, which focus more on character development than the actual plot. Persona has a whole 10-step process for getting to know the large cast. You can see their development unfold over the duration of a whole year as they deal with the highs and 720 corkscrew upside down lows of life. The cast of Yakuza Like a Dragon is composed of a group of people in their 30s, 40s, and beyond who all come from extremely different life circumstances. They're working together because it's in their best interest, not because they all have some innate sense of duty to defeat the ultimate evil. Their relationships with one another feel grounded and realistic, which is honestly rare in modern gaming. It's like looking at real people reacting to their terrible situations, trying to make the best of it. I got attached to the party members during the duration of my playthrough, and was really sad to see the journey come come to a close. That's how you know characters are well written. You just don't see this kind of thing, the beautiful stories and the lovable, sympathetic characters outside of this genre very often. They're there, I know they're there, I've played them, but right here, in the land of JRPGs, the floodgates have been opened, and they beckon you to come. Like a Japanese curry, Yakuza Like a Dragon is the perfect blend of all the spices that make JRPGs great. It calls back to the origin of the genre, while simultaneously pushing it into a new era. If you're gonna start anywhere, this would be the spot. Right here. No, really, go get it. JRPGs honestly saved gaming for me. If I hadn't discovered them a few years ago, I might have quit gaming altogether. I was burned out on the typical modern video game formula, the open worlds, the battle royales, you know what I mean. But here I am, making this video, and I have Japanese role-playing games to thank for that. I hope this video has encouraged you to check them out, because I think they have a lot to offer that you're gonna love. Kinda like how I love it when you hit the subscribe button. Have a good one.